Darryl Praill is CRO of VanillaSoft, and today we're talking with all the sales development leaders, all the sales development up-and-comers, people who are making a difference in their organization in the sales development community on the CRO position. What is it? How do you become one? What's a day in the life? Darryl, tell us about your background and how you became a CRO.
Well, I used to work for Tenbound, and then I realized that was a dead-end career. Oh, we're on air now. Sorry about that.
We gave you a chance.
I know, it's true. Hey, everybody, how are you? Thank you, David, for having me. I'm actually really, really excited to be here. And you can probably tell David and I are rather informal. We have a good relationship. We go back a long time now. David has been very supportive of me in my career, and I'm loving his all the content he does. I personally went to Tenbound for the first time last year, and I know it's been going on for years now, but it's the first time I'd ever gone to it. And I left that going, that is the best event in my entire, I go to a ton of events, right? I speak at many, and then we're on many. I've got a large budget for events. Now, obviously this year has been a little different. It was the best event I had ever been to. It was stunning. And it wasn't just me, it was all of my colleagues who were there with me as well. And what it was is we loved how pragmatic it was, how real it was. We didn't feel we got pitched to, and we learned a lot, and we really felt we connected with the tribe. So that's my way of not intentionally trying to suck up to Dave. Actually, it's my way of thanking Dave for everything he's done for the community. So that's that. If you don't go to the Tenbound events, please check them out. I have given you a link here in the chat. Just hit that button on the bottom of there of Zoom. This is chat. And please follow me on LinkedIn. And that way, if you have any questions, whether you're watching this on demand or you want to, if you're inspired later on tonight or tomorrow and you want to ask me a question or get my advice or, ask me where I get my red curtains from, whatever the question, there you go. You can connect with me and we'll do that. Everyone wants to know what's behind the wall. That's a question I get right away all the time. Behind the red curtain is a wall, and that's literally all it is. And it's real. Okay. All right. It's not a Zoom background. So there we go. Right about now, my producer's going, "You've touched the curtain, stupid."
I feel like I'm in the Wizard
My
of
background,
Oz.
you'd ask a question. You got to get control of this thing, Dulany. My background is, once upon a time, I was an actual computer programmer, believe it or not. I did that for 6 years. And then I went from programming to a sales engineer position to product management to product marketing to marketing. I worked my way up to marketing. And then I became sales and marketing. I was VP of sales and marketing twice, and then said, no, I'm all in on marketing. So I have carried a bag. My very, 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 very first job, I left school saying I don't want to be a programmer. And I went and I took a job for 6 months selling photocopiers door to door. So from the beginning, it was fated that I would have my hands in the revenue pot. The nice thing is my technology background has really helped me out in my career, because the remarkable thing is that when I began, sales was up here, and marketing was down here. But then it was a dramatic shift over time with the whole tech stack, right? So we used to have IT departments. You may not know this. We used to have IT departments, and they would manage all of our technology, and no decisions on tech were ever made unless IT approved it. IT owned it. The modern CIO and CTO, and that was a big space, owned it. But slowly, the software as a service came into be as I was maturing in my career. It was led by companies like Salesforce.com, just 2001, 2002, 2003 timeframe. And IT didn't want to own it. They liked stuff on-prem, and that led to marketing taking it on and being the pioneer. And so that combination of me having a tech background and then marketing owning the tech stack, combined with my marketing and my sales background, is what's really equipped me to be CRO today. And the CRO position is tangibly different than a head of marketing or a head of sales. And I think we're going to get into that today, but that is my background. And that's what makes the CRO position so difficult. And we'll probably have some interesting conversations where I will express my opinion on, if you're a CRO and you don't have these skills, then in my opinion, you're not really a CRO in role. You're just a CRO in title. But there we go. That's my teaser.
Yeah, so it's a varied background. It's really interesting. What is the difference really between a CRO and a VP of sales? Because in my background in working with companies, there's been CROs in the past, but they really seem like a VP of sales. So in your mind, what's the major difference?
So you're like a great straight man, because that's the biggest stumbling block in my experience that people have on the role of the CRO, is they don't understand it. And then the irony of this situation, it's not just limited to CRO. People seem to understand VP of sales, and I'll give you the answer shortly. But I want to give you some context. They understand VP of sales, and they understand it because it's like this. Well, the VP of sales makes revenue. They're the ones who go and close the deals. And without a VP of sales managing the team and making sure the activity is getting done and that they're actually progressing the deals, holding them accountable to opportunity management, the right sales stages so we can forecast it properly. Without that, we have no visibility, and therefore I can't manage the cash flow of the operations as the CEO or the CFO, the COO. So the VP of sales is all about bringing in the revenue, and that's their job. But for a long time, so they understand that. Many CEOs, many leaders in the companies, they don't understand the role of marketing. This is really important. It leads up to the CRO. They view marketing as the group of people who, they do, in historical times, they do the press releases, they do the pretty brochures, they do the trade shows, and they throw the really good parties at the trade show. I literally had a CEO one time who said, if you don't throw kick-ass parties, you're no good to me. And the worst part was he wasn't being cheeky, he was actually being genuine. I need you to throw good parties at events. And that was like, wow, that's how you view marketing. Marketing has come a long ways, again, led by the technology stack. Now revenue operations, sales ops, marketing ops is kind of rolling up and maturing into its own department now. It's so important. But marketing is all about thought leadership. It's about brand awareness. It's about visibility. It's about customer experience. All right, it's about what emotion does the customer identify with your brand, with your leaders within your company. So that's the purpose of marketing, so that when sales calls them, they go, oh, Tenbound, I've heard of you guys. Oh, David Dulany, I love your stuff. Sure, I'll have a call with you. Oh, your price is how much? Holy smokes, that's way more than I was planning. Oh, but wait, you're Tenbound. Yeah, okay, I trust you guys, right? So there's that. So CRO goes the next step. CRO is more than marketing, but they own marketing. They need to understand that experience, that visceral experience. They need to understand sales. They need to understand about bringing revenue to the table. But a VP of sales only cares about the sale. So the VP of sales, their requirement is this: marketing, give me a good lead. And as long as it meets these criteria, as we agree in our service level agreement, our SLA between our two groups, then I'll leave you to do your thing. Just give me the leads at this agreed upon volume, at this agreed upon lead definition, give them to me and go away. I don't care how you do your black magic voodoo, you do SEM, you do SEO, you do events, I don't care, you do over there. Sales is the opposite. They're like, I'm gonna make these MQLs and I'm gonna give it to you and you're done. And I can go to my executive meeting and I say, I gave them all the leads, sales accepted it, SAL, all right? My job here is done. We didn't hit our numbers, it's not my fault. So you kind of have two silos. They're individually practicing their very focused tasks. The CRO is the one who sits on top of all that. And the CRO is the one that says, we can't have silos. Marketing, it's great you made those leads, but if sales isn't closing, why and how can you help? Sales, it's great that you're working those deals, but you're getting all that feedback and the objections, and you're getting the questions, and you're getting, you got to talk to these different stakeholders. Do you have the content you need? Do you need more data to map that? Do you need more technology? Maybe you need a Zoom info, all right? Or maybe you need a Sales Navigator Team Edition, who knows, to make that all happen. Marketing owns a tech stack. You guys got to work together. See, guys, we're going to set a culture. The culture is we work together to make revenue. You're an expert over there and you're an expert over there, marketing and sales, but we are a team and I am the ultimate arbiter. So I will move money around from team A to team B if that's where I think the needs are. and you can't whine. I will use team B to teach team A, and you will be receptive to what they have to say because I view what they have to say as relevant and affects you, and you will play nice together. And then as the CRO, I'm going to be in lockstep tandem with the CEO, because the CEO and I are the divide between the board and the money. The board has expectations. They're investors. They want an ROI. The CEO is giving them guidance. Here's our product strategy. Here's our revenue generation strategy. But then the CEO goes back to the CRO and says, are you going to hit the numbers? Do you have the budget you need? Are you running the campaigns? Are your reps closing? How's the conversion rate? How can we lower our cost of acquisition, which spans both teams? How can we reduce our cost of sales? How can we increase our customer experience? All right. It all stops with the CRO. They walk together. And that's the difference. And it's subtle, but think of it as one is overarching. In a smaller company, and this is the big difference, in a smaller company, that role of CRO is what we call CEO. The CEO is the arbiter. But as you go up, you need to scale, and then you get the CRO. Long-winded answer, I'm sorry.
No, that's really helpful. So theoretically, in like a medium-sized company, you could have a VP of sales, a VP of marketing, and even a VP of customer success, but they would roll up to the CRO.
Yes. And in fact, that's a very good question you raised, which is, so what does the CRO's footprint include? So for many companies, it is exactly what you just said, David. It is marketing and sales and success. And if you think about it, it makes sense. It comes back to ultimately customer experience, right? So it's from the first time they've seen you, which is probably a marketing campaign, could be an ad, could be a show, could be an advertisement, could be pay-per-click, could be an organic search. All right, but that's where it starts. And they get a message, and they get a vibe, and they see the value props, and they go, oh, that resonates with me. And so they get intrigued so much, they go to your website and they do some due diligence, and they think they understand what you're doing, and maybe they download a trial, or maybe they go to G2, or maybe they go to YouTube, they watch some videos, and then they're really hooked, and they're watching your content, these webinars, videos, and all along the way, they're experiencing your brand, who you are, what's your culture like, what's your value prop, do I like these people? Do I trust these people? And then it goes from them to say, okay, I want to talk to somebody, I think I'm interested. So now we're in sales. And this bridge, this handoff, which is often dropped, is huge. If the sales reps are not using the same language, have the same vibe, have the same vocabulary, the same, maybe marketing speaking at a grade 6 level, but sales is at a grade 12 level, that's a disconnect, right? If they don't have that same consistency, the prospect is confused, and that sends off risks. But if they have the same consistency, then I'm liking it. The more I get to know these people, the more I'm connecting. And then they sign the deal. And now it goes over to success. And success, we're going to onboard you. We're going to teach you. We're going to make you a rock star using our product or offering. And again, it's got to be the same vibe and the same people. Because if it's not, what they do is they get uncomfortable, and they get annoyed, and they get nervous, and they start to pull back. And ultimately, they go to sites like G2 or Capterra or TrustRadius or Google, and they leave you bad reviews. And those bad reviews result in poor search engine rankings, and they result in longer sales cycles, because then sales and marketing is dealing with the fact that I'm seeing you only have 3.8 stars out of 5, where your competition is 4.4 stars. I'm really worried. Why you? I don't know. The price is the same. I'm going to go with 4.4 stars and not you guys. So the customer experience is massive. That's why they own all 3. In some organizations, they only just own 2, sales and marketing. There you go. So it does vary a little bit, but it really is about not just the revenue, because even with customer success, right, here's the thing. If they have a bad experience there, what happens? Marketing was awesome, sales was awesome, but success dropped the ball. Well, then they go, I'm not happy, and they churn. They leave. And success isn't held accountable for that. Other than, oops, sorry, we're working on it. Now it's back up to marketing and sales to go and restore that business above and beyond their existing targets. So the CRO understands all that revenue. They understand all that customer experience, and they have the power to move those pieces around.
Got it. And So, Darryl, is this mainly applicable to a SaaS company? Because it sounds like it's right along the continuum of a SaaS company. And Ed Porter wrote, bingo, all three pieces of the buyer life cycle,
Life cycle.
and software as a service. But is it mostly applicable to SaaS companies, or could you have a CRO at a, project-based company?
You can have a CRO at a services company, you can have a CRO at a consumer goods company. It's still the same, right? And what changes maybe is the infrastructure. So you might add elements like maybe in sales, you don't have SDRs and AEs, maybe you have just full cycle sales reps. That's not uncommon. Maybe what you have in marketing, instead of just having marketing, you have marketing and field marketing, right? So the machinations as you move down and how the structure goes can change. But the premise of I have this overarching group of marketing, this overarching group of sales, and this overarching group of success, that remains the same. The mandate is the same. The objective is the same. The intent is the same. The measurables are the same. The expectations are the same. And the reasons for doing it are the same.
Got it. Okay. So what's a cadence like for you as far as, you go by the quarter and you've got all these different moving parts and different reports and everything that you need to check. It seems overwhelming. What's like the quarterly cadence, and then even what's a day in the life for you?
I just literally, funny story. I'll answer your question with the cadence in the day in the life, but This will give you an example. It'll partially answer your question. I was being pinged by I have a producer on staff who makes all of this possible and makes sure that I'm in focus and I look talented. He's secretly behind me pulling the strings and making my mouth move. So he's messaging me. He's like, boss, you've got like 15 minutes until you go on air. Where are you? And what it was, and then of course I said, I'm 2 minutes away. And then I come in and poor Mr. Dulany was like, oh, thank God you showed up. The point being, where was I? I was with my CEO. Mm-hmm. And it's COVID. So we were out for the first time in weeks having a lunch on an outdoor patio so that we could catch up other than Slack and email and phone calls.
Yeah.
So why does that matter? Day in the life, cadence. So the biggest thing with the CRO, and this was actually, I was so impressed with my CEO when we had this discussion about do I assume this job or not, was he said to me, and he nailed it. He goes, Darryl, I need you to be the CRO. So what does that really mean? In other words, I don't need you to be the head of sales, and I don't need you to be the head of marketing. I need you to be the CRO, which means, Darryl, you need to go and backfill and hire yourself a head of marketing and a head of sales so that my day in the life isn't consumed holding the hand of an account executive who's trying to figure out the best way to influence a deal now that the competition's come in and dropped their pants on the price. All right, that's the role of a VP of sales, or maybe you have a director or a manager or what have you, but that's their headache. All right. So the other aspect is they need the CRO to be strategic. Now, this is probably one of the hardest things to do. It's in our DNA, whether we're sales or marketing or success. It's in our DNA because of where we come out. And typically, I will advocate that you need to have experience in all of these areas. And I have done all of these jobs. When I was a computer programmer for years, a lot of my time was spent on the phone doing support and doing customer success. So I've got that experience too. You tend to fall back on what you know. So I have done marketing the most. So I have a soft spot. I have an affinity for marketing. And it's natural for me to want to go over there and tell my marketing head, if you thought about doing this, if you thought about doing that, you should do this. Why are you doing that? What about this? Here, step aside, let me do it. That's bad. You got to measure your team on the outcomes. And that's the best way I can put it. Especially if you got like a director or a VP of sales or marketing reporting to the CRO, they have earned that right, that respect to be treated and managed by outcomes. So my day is truly spent with nonstop communication. And that's what's really changed for me as a CMO to a CRO is I talk to everybody freaking nonstop. I'm talking to my sales reps, not to micromanage, just to get, because I'm talking to the VP of sales, but I want to talk to the sales rep about a deal or two or three, just so I get a feel what's going on, because I need to stay in the know of what's going on. And if I can help you, I'm here. If not, talk to your VP of sales. That's great. I talk to marketing. I talk to customers. I talk to analysts. I talk. And I'm just really making sure all the pieces are in alignment, because you'll be shocked how decisions are made in one department that are not communicated to other departments. And it's not malicious. It's not with ill will. It just is, right? And so my job is to do that. My job is to share the vision. My job is to remind them of the focus. My job is to remind them of the deadline. My job is to remind them of their commitments. My job is to question them, not in a way that is an interrogation, but is in a way that makes them come to the answer themselves. If I think they're going in the wrong direction, they need to figure it out on their own. I like to push and influence them. So my job is to make sure everything's cool. That's down. But what's equally important, I alluded to this before, was up. So one of the questions I've been asked a lot about is, Darryl, you were CMO, now you're CRO. When you were CMO, who did you talk to the most? Like what advice do you have for CMOs? Who should they befriend? And how has it changed to CRO? And what I would tell everybody is, as CMO, I talk right away, every job, go in, best friends, whatever it takes, apples, buy them Apple products, get them Starbucks, whatever it means. Best friends with the head of HR and best friends with the head of finance. Finance needs to pay your bills, need to pay your vendors fast, and HR because marketing does stupid stuff and, because people not liking us. So we got to be best friends with them. And the CRO, it's not that at all. The CRO person I focus on intently is the CEO. My CEO and I used to communicate regularly on email and Slack, and we still do. But now I talk to my CEO 3 and 4 times a day on the phone about a variety of issues. Why do I do that? I do that because they're going to represent themselves to the board, the financial analysts, et cetera, to investors. They need to know the pulse of the company. They need to know what's going on. They need to have input. I need them. My job is to run interference half the time. So I need to go back to my CEO and buy my team an extra day, an extra week, an extra month, whatever it might be. And there needs to be that communication on just expectations management. And, sitting down with my CEO today, he asked me a silly question. Darryl, how's it going? These are the questions I get now. He's not asking me about the company. He's asking me about me. Isn't that ironic? I'm trying to manage up and he's trying to manage down. And I'm like, I'm stressed. So here's where I'm stressed. I'll give you an example. I've got a handful of reps that I'm not confident will make it. That's normal in any sales team. So it is. So what do I do? So I talked to this trusted expert and their advice was, oh, Darryl, what I would do is I would, if you have to reduce that staff count, reduce them. Don't backfill the positions. Get your team humming. And then when they're humming, bring them back on. Very expensive consultant. This person whom we trust says, you know what I would do? Of those positions, I would backfill a handful of them, a portion of them, half of them. Why? Well, because we don't necessarily need them all, but we need some of them, and that's what I think. Okay, whatever. And I'm talking to my CEO, and I'm saying, I value their opinions. I asked their opinions. I sought their opinions, but my inner gut is telling me they're wrong, and they're close, but I need to actually replace them all. His answer is, well, why? And this is why. And so my CEO, believe it or not, becomes the one person whom I can be vulnerable with. They want me to be vulnerable with them so they can work with me so I can go back and lead the team and we have an aligned strategy. So that's the day in my life. I just do this nonstop all day long. My calendar's full. What's the cadence? The cadence is it's a sales cadence. Nothing's changed. It is, we have every single day, what's our activity? How many demos we have today? What deals have progressed? I'm looking at the dashboards all the time. I'm looking at the lead flow. I'm looking at the marketing saying we're running low on leads. We need to get more leads. I'm looking at the activity and our account-based marketing. How many have we talked to? What's the holdup? How many touches are we averaging per cadence? Do we need more staff? Are we falling behind? So again, I'm looking at it. And if I suspect something, I'll talk to my VP of sales. It's a weekly, it's a monthly, it's a quarterly numbers game. That's what it is. It's truly nothing's changed other than my job is to make, think of me as, if I want to use a sports analogy, and I know so many of you don't like the sports analogies and I get it. Think of me as the coach. I'm the coach, and I've got an offensive coordinator and I got a defensive coordinator. And those two people are the ones managing their offensive teams, their defensive teams. And they're on the field at different times. They need to work together to execute my game plan so they can beat the competition, so they can achieve the goals, so that we all make our bonuses and achieve the outcomes we want to. That's my job. That's my cadence.
I love it. And in your structure, do you have that head of sales, head of marketing, head of customer success yet, or are you still kind of doing those roles yourself?
We have the head of customer success. I have a head of marketing starting in not fast enough in about 2 weeks' time, and I'm actively looking for a head of sales. First, it's not even on the website yet, folks. I was reviewing the job description this morning. So if you're looking and you think you are a director or better, and you got the skill sets, my LinkedIn profile is right there in the chat window. You can connect and send me your CV.
You heard it here first.
So Dave, are you applying? Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah. How do I raise my hand in this thing? And I know that there's a little button somewhere.
I think we could slum it and step down and let someone like you join our firm.
Well, I think it'd be interesting because they could learn a lot. I think Darryl would be a great boss. So you heard it here first, folks. And I got two questions for you. The structure perspective, we talked about a small company getting your footing. The CEO would be the CRO essentially.
Correct. Absolutely.
And then at a mid-market, you might have, we called it like the junior CRO or someone who's starting to assume some of these roles. But then at the bigger established company, I mean, it sounds like you would definitely want to have a CRO.
Yeah. And part of that's going to depend on your company size and your employee size, right? And it also depends on your growth plans, right? So think about it this way. It also depends on how you're funded. All of these I know are wild cards. What you've described, David, is spot on. But let me give you an example. Let's say, when would I need a CMO? Let's start with a CMO before a CRO, right? I could have a VP of marketing before then. I probably need a CMO 10 million ARR, because 10 million is a number that all of a sudden, before your 10 million ARR, annual recurring revenue, all the investors kind of look at you like, oh, you're an interesting piece of technology. And you stay in touch with us and maybe we'll give you a couple $1 million and life's good. Also, you break 10 million. It's like, whoa, you broke 10 million. It's just double digits is all it is, but it's a mental thing. And they go, okay, let's talk. Right. And then they start doing the due diligence and the analysis. And all of a sudden your valuation goes from here to here. Right. And they're seeing the upside. Now they see growth. Now they're going to give you gobs of money. And they're going to say, but with that gobs of money, we expect a hockey stick growth curve, and that's going to require more people, et cetera. And that puts burden on the organization, which is also comparable to when a CRO is going to come in. They're maybe going to come in closer to 15 million. So, because what's going to happens over time. CMO goes, I have a CMO now at $10 million, and all of a sudden we're getting more velocity, getting more lead flow, and all of a sudden sales starts to drop the ball a little bit, or there's contention between sales and marketing for whatever reason, bad lead quality, bad follow-up, bad speed of lead, inappropriate persistence, whatever it might be, bad cadences, crappy content, whatever, you name it. So as you're growing and there's scale and there's velocity, there's investor expectations, tensions enter the organization. So at that point in time, a CRO is good to come in. Because also at that same time, when you're earlier, you mentioned a small or a medium-sized company, the CEO can often handle that tension, especially early on. There's really no tension in a small company. We're still looking for a minimum viable product. We probably have some anchor clients, and we're trying to figure it all out. When you get to be more of an emerging company, you know who you are, you know your category typically, you know your product, and now it's just about, building up a little bit of the processes. That's the big part of the emerging company. You're defining what your processes are internally so you can scale. But once you get to be an established account, larger account, okay, you've got the processes in place, and now you've got the investment, and now you're seeing the tension and the stress. And that tension and stress is impeding your ability to execute and hit the numbers. And now investors are going, you're missing your numbers. We're not happy. And they're getting involved. And the CEO is getting nervous because now their job is on the line.
Yep.
Enter a CRO.
I was just going to say, it all comes down to the key word of alignment. And I like
Yeah.
I like the analogy of a coach working with the various line coaches.
Nobody's ever used a sports analogy before, David. That was my first. I think I may have started something here.
That's worth it.
Yeah.
Question for you that came in actually before was product development. So, you're if you're overseeing how the marketing and the brand and the leads and how things are closing, and then, how you're taking care of the customers, you're getting all this intelligence. Does that go back into the product at all? Is that part of the CRO's, position, or is that, before you get involved?
So yeah, it is. So again, I'm trying not to give my CEO too much credit. He'll probably watch this and he'll probably just get a big fat head out of it. The first thing he did, this was his initiative. I need to give him full credit, but he was right. When I was taking on the job, part of the negotiation I had with my CEO about the conditions of my engagement was the product roadmap. And, if you want, literally, it was this. If you want me to hit those numbers, Mr. CEO, I need feature A, B, and C, because I can see it's affecting us in competitive sales cycles, or it's affecting us in analyst reports, or it's affecting us in evaluations. Even though we know no one's going to use those features, they just think they want those features. I got to have it because it's a check mark on the evaluation process. And and I'm not happy because R&D development is not holding up their end of the deal, and they're always late and blah, blah, blah. And this is not a VanillaSoft thing. This is across the board, folks. This is technology as a whole. So when I took on the job, he had heard that, me saying, I need influence in that. I can't be held up by them, or else we need to talk about the number I'm hitting. First thing he did was he made a meeting between the head of product management, myself, and him. And it's a bi-weekly meeting. In fact, it was supposed to happen today, but ironically, we canceled it because he and I went out for lunch. So that's how important it is. We canceled it. It's a bi-weekly meeting where we go through and we look at the roadmap and what's changed and what's not changed. And what's, again, it's that I talked about communication. This is how now product management and development now have a chance to set my expectations, and I can raise a stink and say, no, I've got deals contingent upon these capabilities. And that's always the compromise. In fairness to dev, I want to be really, really fair to dev here. All right. We expect them to innovate and do these roadmaps, and we want to hold them to it. But we in sales are the worst at saying, I got a deal and they need this widget. They absolutely need it. And it's, I know it's only $1,000 a month now, but if they had this widget, they say they might go up to $10,000 a month. Gotta have it. And there's no due diligence, and sales huffs and puffs, and R&D goes, fine, we'll reprioritize everything. We'll give you a widget. Now, half the time, the deal stays at 1,000 and never goes to 10,000. That's on sales' fault. But we, sales, we still expect R&D to hold their commitment to that original roadmap. So even though they just completely restructured their timelines to give you that damn widget, we're not allowing them the grace to adjust their timelines, because you said last week that we were going to hit this roadmap. So the part of that three-way meeting is to make sure there's a give and take, a healthy give and take. And then there's an understanding of shall we say, an opportunity cost. If I pursue that widget that you think you need, the opportunity cost is we don't have this feature for another 30 or 45 days. And you told me that was important. So now it allows development to put it back on me to say what's truly important, so that I can go back to my team and say, you're not getting a widget because we really want this. And there's just a lot more. That feature gives us more. So tell your customer they will get it, but if they need it now to close the deal, it's not going to happen. But if they're willing to sign it and trust us, we'll commit to do it in 90 days. There's that. So it's a constant negotiation. That's really important.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're the United Nations of the revenue team.
Well, there's some truth to that. There is a United Nations.
A good experience going into this would be parenting. It sounds like a lot like parenting, especially now in the lockdown.
So I don't know about you, because my kids are grown now, but and you're so young, you probably don't even have kids yet. I know you do, but they're probably like still in the womb. So my wife and I had an understanding early on, and it's always interesting to make these agreements and then live up to them, where we would say, when one of us makes a decision, no, you're grounded. we are a united front.
Yeah.
And
Huge.
if we want to disagree, we're united front, and then we go into the bedroom, we close the door, and we say, that was stupid. What the hell were you thinking? And we have this back and forth, right?
Yep.
And then we work it out. But when we leave that room, away we go, and we don't change the decision. You said they're grounded. They're grounded. Next time, maybe I won't be so quick to ground them because we had that conversation. You're right. If you don't do that, the kids will play the parents, and there will be tension and discord and chaos in the family unit.
Yeah.
That's no different. And you're right. That's the CRO's job, is to try to create everybody running optimally. But keep your eye on the prize.
Parenting the CRO way. That could be your
got it. Parenting with Darryl.
I love it. So Darryl, I got a couple questions come in, and Ed Porter, you're going to be
He's a machine, isn't he?
He's going to be hosting the next webinar because he's coming up with some great ones.
Although I hear Columbus sucks. I just want to say that. That's all I got to say.
Seriously, Ed, if you want to host one of these, that'd be great.
Blame Canada.
I blame everything on Canada.
That's right.
So question came in. There was like a tweet storm that came through a couple weeks ago that was really interesting. And basically the way that it kicked off was everybody's in sales. And, if you miss your number, take me through that scenario, because it kind of feels like what you're trying to solve with your position at VanillaSoft.
Okay, so what was really cool about this tweet storm is this is a fantastic personification of the difference between a VP of sales and a CRO. All right, so here we go. And I shall name names, because if you just go to my Twitter stream, you'll be able to figure it out soon enough. So I had a wonderful exchange with an individual whom I respect immensely. You may have heard of him, a fellow called Scott Leese, Surf and Sales, fantastic podcast, not as good as Tenbound, of course. Wonderful event, but not happening this year because there's a small pandemic going on. And just an all-around fantastic trainer, coach, and advisor. And he's a trusted friend. In fact, true story, I consulted with Scott before I took the CRO position to get his input and influence my decision in the process. So that's a true story. Scott puts out their tweet. I'm paraphrasing, you can see it. The premise of, how to lose the sales room in a hurry, be like the CFO and say everybody's in sales. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where this came from. If he had a client, it was shared with him, if it was a personal experience, but he posts this. And as you might expect, all of the sales executives, now sales executives, SDRs, AEs, no matter what you are, full cycle, let me give you some advice. When you do the old attaboys, the posts like that, to people like me, what you're saying is you don't understand the big picture. And what your tribe is just your sales team,
Okay.
And when you're a VP of sales and below, that is your tribe, and you're right. But the reason you're a sales team is to generate revenue. So the bigger tribe all benefits, not just sales, but marketing, development, administration, and operations. All right. So ultimately, all the shareholders get a return on their investment. That's why you're paid to get those sales. But we do that so everybody benefits. And when you say attaboy and you're cliquish, you're bro-ish on that comment, you're conveying that you don't understand the big picture. You may not like that. I'm sorry if you don't, but that's what you're doing. So in this case, Scott said that. He goes, you're going to lose a room. That's BS. And as I'm getting to the point, the reason I was saying this, tons of comments saying, attaboy, yeah, preach, you're right on, you're so right, blah, 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 agreed, blah. Me, I'm a bit of an agitator. Shut up, David. Not only it comes from you. See who's paying attention. He is. I responded by saying, the CFO's not wrong. Everybody is in sales. The CFO is absolutely not wrong. And Scott responded back to the effect of, you're going to lose a room, toxic to the sales culture, And I love that word toxic because it just is so visceral. So I said, okay, so let me see if I understand what you're saying here, Scott. You're saying marketing who busts their ass to get you the leads to feed the beast, to make sure you have the content you need. You're trying to tell me marketing is not in sales? You're trying to tell me marketing has no influence on the revenue contribution? You're trying to tell me when marketing nurtures the lead and gets them halfway to the middle of the funnel or even 2/3 for the funnel before you ever touch them, that they're not in sales? Are you trying to tell me that a development who's busting their asses to get you features so you can close that deal, that they're not in sales? Are you trying to tell me that success is doing their damnedest to make sure customers are happy so the customers don't churn on others? They renew their subscription and you get another month, another year of revenue that you weren't involved in sales. It's a renewal. That they're not in sales? And his point was, they're not. We close the deals. We're the ones. We're sales. And that's going to ruin the culture. And that's where we had this Twitter war.
Yeah.
And I said, you're wrong. You're wrong. Everybody's in sales. Sales is compensated handsomely to chase those deals. You're given incentives with commissions. If you close it, you get a nice base salary plus commissions. That's your job. Everybody's got a job. And it's like a team. That was the analogy I used. You know, going back to family and sports analogies, right? It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a platoon to take a hill. There's no I in team. You get the idea. You are in sales, yes, but everybody has an accountability towards it, and that is the CRO's role. The CRO understands that their success depends on development, depends on success, depends on support, depends on marketing, that their sales team cannot succeed without that alignment and that shared singular purpose. That's why communication is so critical. And that was the exchange we had. Okay. You pick which side you're on. I'm indifferent. But understand when you pick a side, you're also making a statement
here.
Yes, you're making a statement about, you know, how you view the organization and how you view your role. For many people, you pick a side because that's how you identify yourself. I look at the US election right now. I'm Canadian, I can make this comment. You're either Team Trump or you're Team Biden.
Yeah.
And Biden's done stuff, doesn't matter, la, la, la. And Trump's done stuff, doesn't matter, la, la, la. I'm Team Trump and I'm Team Biden and I'm just oblivious to it because that's my team. That's fine, that's your choice. But if you want to be a CRO, this is the only advice if you listen today, if you want to be a CRO, you want to be a C-suite, you need to see the bigger picture and understand how all the cogs work together to make that machine run. Okay, I'm off my soapbox, dude.
That's the webinar right there.
Right there.
And you know, Christopher Bowen makes a point here that maybe we're just using the wrong, you know, it's a semantic issue. Like we're using the wrong word. So we should be talking
Christopher's
about
a rock star, by the way. I like Christopher.
What's that? Is it?
I like Christopher. I like Christopher better than Ed, just so we're clear on that, okay?
Okay, Ed, you know, you can comment. So are we just using the wrong word here? You're talking about revenue alignment, and Christopher says, you know, if the revenue dips enough, everybody's on the block, which is true. And at that point, so should it have said we're all in revenue, but then there's a subset of us that are in sales, you know, that are closing the deals.
Okay, so yeah, we're splitting hairs, but it's a fair point.
Okay.
You're right.
No.
So those who are in sales are closing sales, just like those in marketing are executing campaigns, just like those who are in development are doing sprints. Correct. But we're all in revenue. Fair point. Okay. Where I'll challenge you on, though, is when the numbers drop, that sales is at risk, I will challenge you because historically, sales is one of the last people to get hit because we're so desperate and so hungry for this revenues because we're in trouble. That in fact, marketing is usually the first one to get hit. So how that works is their discretionary spending for all their advertising and whatnot is this. That's where we start. And then we start cutting people. You see, when you're reducing costs because you're in financial distress, you're missing your targets, and you spent in anticipation of getting those goals, and you didn't get those goals. So now we're in debt, and the books are in red. Then what you need to do is you need to reduce your costs. But where do we struggle? We struggle as human beings letting people go, because you've got a spouse and you've got kids and you've got a mortgage payment. I don't want to affect you because I get it, because I'm there too. So you start cutting back on the discretionary spend. You start cutting back on the external contractors. And then eventually you're going, well, there's no external spend, no discretionary spend. I don't really need the marketing staff anymore, because what are they doing? There's nothing to spend it on. There's no campaigns. So sales is often one of the ones who actually survives a lot longer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also they're stack ranked a lot of times on the big board. You know, you walk around the office and you can tell who's number one in sales. And so I think that just having that visibility, they feel like, oh, at any time, you know, if I drop below the top 5, I'm on the chopping block potentially.
Yeah.
So,
and the other part where people get hit in those situations, I love your comment, Chris, on how customer support and success also get hit. They do. Where you're going to see them tend to cut out the middle management. That's what has to happen often, or the upper management, right? So whoever's got the bigger pay. Now when I'm cutting people, well, if I'm going to cut people, what are the big ass salaries that I can get rid of first? So I can maybe cut one of those people as opposed to 3 or 4 of those people. So, and it's, you got to figure it out because it's your own organization. But yeah, I've been there. It's never pleasant. You're spot on. I love the comment.
yeah, it's a tough balance for sure.
Yeah, it
Darryl,
is.
you know, you've probably forgotten more of this stuff than I've ever learned. So I can't thank you enough for coming and sharing your wisdom with everybody. And, you know, again, everybody who's on, connect with Darryl, and definitely if you're interested in becoming a CRO, we'll have more of these. It's an interesting topic, and it's a great career path. And you can, you know, someday be more like Darryl. So
You don't want to be more like me. No. More like David. That's what you want to be more like.
I need a CRO. If anybody's interested, give me a call.
And I'm looking at that little outfit. You know, I know it's dark shirt there, maybe a little bit of zipper, but if that was more of a turtleneck, you could be like Steve Jobs right now. I'm thinking, just work it, you know?
Thank you. I'll try. I've got 6 of these. They're all the same. I just put on.
I did notice a Tenbound. I did catch that. If I'd have known that, I'd have worn my shirt that said opinionated just so we could hang out together.
You got a brand. But,
I do.
Anyways, thank you so much, everybody, for jumping on. And we'll see you over at Tenbound and on VanillaSoft. Darryl, thanks again for sharing your wisdom with us.